Una Park stood alone in the cold waiting room of the Galactic Inheritance Registry. The room was too big for humans. The chairs were too tall. The ceiling was too high. Everything on Station Velar 7 was built for beings much larger than her. She was 26 years old. She had brown eyes and black hair that she kept tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore old work clothes because she did not own anything better. Her boots had holes in them. Her jacket had patches on the elbows. 3 months ago, her grandfather had died. His name was Do-Wan Park, and he had been a salvage operator. He was one of the first humans to fly into deep space after Earth made contact with alien civilizations. He spent 40 years collecting junk from abandoned stations and dead ships. He never got rich. He never got famous. But he always smiled, and he always told Una that someday everything would make sense. Now she was here to collect her inheritance. A door opened, and a tall alien walked out. He was a Halori, one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were completely black. He stood almost 3 meters tall, and he looked down at Una like she was an insect. "Human female," he said. His voice was cold. "I am Tavros, Senior Claims Officer. Follow me." Una followed him into a large office. 3 other Halori officials sat behind a long desk. They all looked bored. They all looked annoyed. One of them was eating something that looked like purple fruit. Tavros sat down and opened the file on his screen. Do-Wan Park, human male, deceased. He has left you the following items. He read from the list without any emotion. 1 cargo freighter, model unknown. Registered name the Patient Ox. 17 containers of miscellaneous earth goods. Contents unverified. Mining rights to asteroid KR7714. He looked up at Una. "Do you accept this inheritance?" "Yes," Una said. One of the other officials laughed. It was a strange sound, like air escaping from a broken pipe. "This human accepts," he said. "Does she know what she is accepting?" Tavros smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "The freighter is 40 years old. It is worth less than scrap. The containers are filled with human junk that no one wants. And the asteroid." He paused and looked at his colleagues. They all started laughing. "The asteroid is worthless," Tavros continued. "It is made of common silicate. There are no valuable minerals. There is no water. There is nothing. Your grandfather was swindled, human. Someone sold him mining rights to a rock that is worth nothing." Una felt her face get hot. She wanted to say something, but she did not know what to say. "The processing fee for this inheritance is 500 credits, Tavros said. "The inheritance itself is worth perhaps 200 credits. You will lose money by accepting this." "I accept," Una said again. The officials laughed harder. The one eating fruit almost choked. Tavros pushed a document across the desk. "Sign here, human. Take your grandfather's garbage. And please, do not waste our time again." Una signed the document. Her hand was shaking, but she made sure her signature was clear. She took the copy of the deed and held it against her chest. "Thank you," she said, because her grandfather had taught her to always be polite. Tavros waved his hand. "Leave." Una walked out of the office. She walked through the long hallway. She walked past the other aliens who did not look at her. She walked until she reached the main plaza of Station VLAR-7. Her brother Ji-Woo was waiting for her. He was 5 years older than her. He had the same brown eyes and black hair, but he looked tired. He always looked tired these days. "Well?" he asked. "What did he leave you?" Una showed him the document. A ship, some containers, and an asteroid. Ji-Woo read the document. His face fell. "Una, this is worthless. The ship is ancient. The asteroid is just rock. Grandfather was a dreamer, but this He shook his head. This is nothing. It is not nothing, Una said. It is what he left me. You should sell it. Get whatever you can. Move on with your life. Una remembered her grandfather's face. She remembered sitting on his lap when she was a little girl. She remembered his voice, soft and warm, telling her stories about the stars. He made me promise, she said, before he died. He held my hand and he made me promise. Promise what? Never to sell it? No matter what anyone offers. No matter what anyone says. She looked at her brother. I promised him, Jiwoo. I cannot break that promise. Jiwoo sighed. Una, grandfather was a good man, but he was not a smart businessman. He spent his whole life chasing dreams. He died with nothing. He did not die with nothing, Una said. He died with hope. He told me that this inheritance would change everything. He told me to be patient. He told me that humans know how to wait. Wait for what? Una looked out the window of the station. She could see the stars, thousands of them, millions of them, stretching out forever. I do not know yet, she said, but I will find out. She put the deed in her pocket and started walking toward the docking bay. Somewhere out there, an old ship called the Patient Ox was waiting for her. Somewhere out there, an asteroid called KR714 was floating in the darkness. And somewhere in her heart, her grandfather's voice was still speaking. Be patient, Una. The galaxy laughs at humans. Let them laugh. We know something they do not. We know how to wait. She would wait. She would learn. And someday, she would show them all. 6 months passed. They were the hardest 6 months of Una's life. The Patient Ox was old. It was very old. The engine made strange sounds. The heating system broke every few days. The water recycler tasted like metal. But it flew, and that was enough. Una took any job she could find. She translated documents for human merchants who did not speak Galactic Standard. She cleaned cargo holds on larger ships. She delivered supplies to remote outposts where no one else wanted to go. The pay was bad, but it kept fuel in the ship and food in her stomach. She was not alone. Her childhood friend Taeyeon Cho had joined her as crew. They had grown up together on Earth in a small town near the ocean. He was tall and thin, with kind eyes and quick hands. He was good at fixing things. On a ship as old as the Patient Ox, that was the most valuable skill anyone could have. One night, they were floating in deep space between jobs. The ship was quiet. Una sat in the pilot's seat, looking at the stars. We should go to the asteroid, Taeyeon said. Una turned to look at him. Why? Because we have never seen it. Your grandfather left it to you, but you have never even looked at it. He sat down next to her. Maybe there is something there. Maybe the Halori scans missed something. They have the best technology in the galaxy. Their scans do not miss things. Their scans look for what they expect to find. What if there is something they do not expect? Una thought about this. Her grandfather had taught her many things when she was young. He had taught her about Earth, about the old ways humans used to find resources before they had advanced technology. He had taught her to look with her eyes, not just with machines. It is 3 weeks away, she said. We have no jobs right now anyway. Una smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in a long time. Okay, let us go see this worthless rock. The journey to KR7714 was long and boring. The ship moved slowly. The engines complained. Taeyeon spent most of his time in the engine room, keeping everything running with spare parts and determination. When they finally arrived, Una understood why the Halori had laughed. The asteroid was ugly. It was gray and brown, covered with dust and craters. There were no signs of water, no signs of metals, no signs of anything valuable. It looked exactly like what it was supposed to be, a worthless rock floating in empty space. Well, Taeyeon said, it is definitely an asteroid. Yuna put on her spacesuit. I am going outside. Why? The scans show nothing. My grandfather did not leave me this rock for no reason. He made me promise to never sell it. He was keeping it for something. She went to the airlock and stepped outside. The asteroid had very little gravity, so she moved slowly, carefully. Her boots touched the gray surface and dust floated up around her. For 3 days, she walked the surface of the asteroid. She looked at rocks. She looked at craters. She looked at patterns in the dust. She remembered what her grandfather about Earth geology, about how humans used to find precious things by understanding how planets formed. Taeyeon watched from the ship. Yuna, there is nothing there. Please come back. But on the 3rd day, she found something. It was in a small crater, hidden beneath a layer of silicate rock. A tiny piece of crystal, no bigger than her fingernail. It was pale blue, almost white, and it seemed to glow with its own light. Yuna picked it up carefully. Her heart started beating faster. She brought it back to the ship. She put it in the analysis machine. She waited. The machine beeped. The results appeared on the screen. Yuna read them. Then she read them again. Then she sat down because her legs would not hold her anymore. What is it? Taeyeon asked. What did you find? Yuna could not speak. She pointed at the screen. Taeyeon looked at the results. His face went white. That is impossible. Run the test again. He ran the test again. The results were the same. Resonance quartz. Taeyeon whispered. That is resonance quartz. Resonance quartz was the rarest material in the known galaxy. It was used to power faster-than-light communication systems. Without it, ships could not talk to each other across the stars. Without it, the galactic economy would collapse. The Halari Dominion had controlled the only known source of resonance quartz for 300 years. They had used this control to become one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They set the prices. They chose who could buy. They ruled the communication networks. And now, Yuna was holding a piece of it in her hand. The Halori scans could not find this, she said slowly, understanding. Their technology looks for surface deposits. This is buried deep. You have to know how to look for it the old way, the human way. She walked to the window and looked at the ugly gray asteroid floating in space. Grandfather knew, she said. He found this 60 years ago. He kept it secret his whole life. He waited for the right time. He waited for the right person. Taeyeon stood beside her. What do we do now? Yuna thought about Tavros and his cold smile. She thought about the Halori officials laughing at her. She thought about everyone who had ever called her grandfather a fool. Now, she said, we are very, very careful. And we make a plan. She looked at the crystal in her hand. It glowed softly, like a small star. Her grandfather had given her more than an asteroid. He had given her the power to change everything. Yuna tried to keep the discovery secret. She really tried. But some secrets are too big to hide. She needed equipment to properly scan the asteroid. She needed experts to confirm what she had found. She needed money to protect her claim. Every time she reached out for help, more people learned about her discovery. Within 4 weeks, the whole galaxy knew. Ships started arriving at Station Veller 7. First 1, then 10, then 100. They came from every corner of known space. They all wanted the same thing. They all wanted to talk to the young human woman who had found resonance quartz. Yuna moved from her small, rented room to a secure hotel. Taeyeon stood guard outside her door. She barely slept. She barely ate. Every hour, someone new was asking for a meeting. The first to arrive officially were the Halori. Tavros walked into her hotel room like he owned it. He was not laughing anymore. His black eyes were cold and hard. "Human," he said, "we need to talk about your asteroid." Yuna sat in a chair that was too big for her. She made herself look calm, even though her heart was beating fast. "I remember you. You told me my inheritance was worthless. I was mistaken." The words seemed to hurt him. "The Halari Dominion is prepared to make you a very generous offer. We will buy your mining rights for 50 million credits. 50 million credits. It was more money than Yuna had ever imagined. It was more money than her grandfather had earned in his entire life. "No," she said. Tavros blinked. "No, I am not selling. You do not understand. This is not a request. The Halari Dominion has controlled resonance quartz for 3 centuries. We will not allow some human salvage worker to disrupt the galactic economy." Yuna stood up. She was small, but she did not feel small. "Get out of my room." Tavros stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned and left. At the door, he stopped. "You are making a very dangerous mistake, human. We are not the only ones who will come for you." He was right. The next day, the Keth Collective sent representatives. The Keth were insectoid beings with hard shells and many eyes. They clicked when they talked, and their translator made a buzzing sound. "We offer protection," their leader said. "Military ships around your asteroid. Soldiers to guard you. In exchange, we want exclusive mining rights." "No," Yuna said. The day after that, the orange synthesis arrived. They were crystalline beings who communicated through light patterns. They were the most advanced species in the galaxy when it came to technology. "We offer partnership," they said. "Our technology combined with your resource. Together, we could create faster than light communications 10 times more powerful than anything that exists now." "No," Yuna said. Then the humans came. They were different from the aliens. They wore expensive suits. They smiled with perfect teeth. They represented the biggest corporations on Earth, the mega corporations that controlled most of human commerce. "Miss Park," the lead representative said. His name was Hojin Ma, and he was very smooth, very polished. "We understand your loyalty to humanity. We share it. Let us help you. Let us handle the business side while you enjoy your wealth." He pushed a contract across the table. Yuna looked at it. The numbers were enormous. Billions of credits. More money than some planets generated in a year. "The contract gives you 95% ownership of my asteroid," Yuna said. "We need control to operate efficiently. But you would still be incredibly rich. You would never have to work again. Your family would be taken care of forever." Yuna pushed the contract back. No. That night, her brother Jiwoo came to see her. He looked worried. He looked scared. "Yuna, please listen to me. You have to take one of these offers. You are one person with one old ship. These are the most powerful groups in the galaxy. You cannot fight them all. I am not trying to fight them. Then what are you doing? Why do you keep saying no?" Yuna walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of Station Villa 7. Thousands of ships. Millions of beings. All of them talking about her. "Grandfather made me promise never to sell." He said the words very carefully. Never sell. No matter what they offer. He was an old man, Yuna. He did not know this would happen. No. Yuna turned to face her brother. He knew exactly what would happen. He planned for this. He prepared me for this. How? How could he prepare you? Yuna smiled. It was a small smile, a quiet smile. He taught me to read contracts. He taught me about galactic trade law. He taught me about the difference between selling something and sharing something. Jiwoo looked confused. I do not understand. Neither do they. She looked out the window again. Grandfather told me to never sell. but he never said I could not lease. She turned back to her brother. Get some sleep, Jiwoo. Tomorrow I start making plans. And everyone who laughed at our grandfather is going to learn what humans are really capable of. Jiwoo left, still looking confused. Yuna stayed at the window for a long time. She thought about her grandfather. She thought about all the years he had spent preparing for this moment. She thought about all the things he had taught her, all the lessons she had not understood until now. The wolves were circling. They thought she was weak. They thought she was alone. They were wrong. Yuna needed help. Not the kind of help the corporations were offering. She needed someone who understood the law, someone who could see what she was planning. She found Yoonji. Beak. Yoonji was a human lawyer who had spent 20 years studying galactic trade law. She was small, even smaller than Yuna, with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore simple clothes and carried an old briefcase. Most importantly, she had a reputation for being honest. I am not cheap, Yoonji said at their first meeting. I cannot pay you now, Yuna admitted, but I can offer you a percentage of future profits. Yoonji studied her for a long moment. What are you planning, exactly? Yuna told her. She explained about her grandfather. She explained about the promise. She explained about the difference between selling and leasing. She explained everything. When she finished, Yoonji smiled. It was the first time Yuna had seen her smile. Your grandfather taught you well, Yoonji said. Let us get to work. For 3 weeks, they worked together. They wrote contracts. They studied galactic law. They found loopholes and opportunities that no one else had seen. Taeyeon brought them food and coffee. Jiwoo watched from the doorway, still not understanding. Finally, they were ready. Yuna called a meeting. Not a private meeting, but a public one. Representatives from every major power were invited. The Halori, the Keth, the Oran, the human corporations, and dozens of smaller species. They all came. They all wanted to see what the young human woman would do. The meeting room was huge. Yuna stood at the front, looking at hundreds of alien faces. Yoonji stood beside her. Thank you all for coming, Yuna said. Her voice was steady. Her hands were not shaking. I know you are all interested in my asteroid. I know you all want to control the resonance quartz. Murmurs filled the room. I will not sell my mining rights. This will never change. More murmurs. Angry sounds, but I am willing to lease extraction rights. The room went quiet. I am proposing a competitive leasing structure. Different parties can bid for access to different sections of the asteroid. Leases will last for 5 years, then they must be renewed. Prices will be set by open auction. Tavros stood up. This is unacceptable. The Halori Dominion will not participate in some human auction. That is your choice, Yuna said. But if you do not participate, your competitors will. The Keth, the Aran, others. They will have resonance quartz, and you will not. Tavros sat down slowly. His face was dark with anger, but he said nothing more. Yuna continued. There is one more condition. 40% of all resonance quartz extracted from my asteroid will be reserved for human-controlled distribution. The room exploded. Everyone was shouting. Aliens were standing up, waving their arms, making angry sounds. Yoonji stepped forward. This is legally binding under Galactic Trade Treaty Article 7, Section 23. The owner of a resource has the right to reserve a portion for their species use. It has never been used before, but the law is clear. The shouting continued for several minutes. Then, slowly, it stopped. Everyone realized the same thing. They had no choice. If they wanted resonance quartz, they had to accept Yuna's terms. The first auction was held 1 month later. The bidding was fierce. The prices were enormous. By the end of the day, Yuna had earned more money than most planets generated in a decade. But she did not keep the money for herself. She created the Park Foundation, named after her grandfather. The foundation used the 40% of resonance quartz reserved for humans to fund something new. She built shipyards for human explorers. She built academies for human scientists. She built research stations on the edges of known space. For the first time in history, humans did not need to rely on alien technology to expand into the galaxy. They had their own resources. They had their own power. 1 year later, Una attended a gala celebrating the Foundation's first anniversary. Thousands of beings were there, aliens and humans together. Una wore a simple dress. She did not like fancy clothes. Tavros approached her. He was not smiling. He had not smiled since the day of the auction. "You have made powerful enemies, human," he said. Una looked at him. She remembered standing in his office, holding her grandfather's worthless deed. She remembered the sound of his laughter. "My grandfather spent 40 years being laughed at by your kind," she said. He smiled through every insult. He never complained. He never got angry. Do you know why? Enlighten me. Because he knew something you did not. Humans think differently than Halori. We plant seeds we will never see grow. We build for generations we will never meet. My grandfather found that asteroid 60 years ago. He waited his entire life for the right moment. He taught me everything he knew, and he died knowing exactly what I would become. Tavros stared at her. You are saying he planned all of this? 60 years ago? Una raised her glass of water. Patience is a human specialty, Tavros. Perhaps you should learn it. She walked away, leaving him standing alone. Taeyeon found her by the window, looking out at the stars. That was impressive, he said. Una shook her head. It is not over. The Halori will not accept this. The others will try to find ways around the contracts. There will be more challenges, more problems. Are you worried? Una thought about her grandfather. She thought about his smile, his patience, his quiet strength. No, she said. I am not worried. Grandfather prepared me for this. And humans have one advantage that the galaxy keeps forgetting. What is that? She smiled. We never give up. 10 years passed. The galaxy changed. It changed slowly at first, then faster and faster. The old powers that had ruled for centuries found themselves sharing space with new voices, new ideas, new dreams. And at the center of it all was a human woman with gray hair at her, temples and calm eyes that had seen everything. Una stood on the observation deck of Park Station Alpha. It was the largest human-built station in the galaxy, orbiting the asteroid that her grandfather had left her. Through the massive windows, she could see cargo ships departing for distant stars. Each ship carried resonance quartz, the material that made faster-than-light communication possible. The asteroid was no longer called KR7714. Now everyone called it Dowan's Gift, named after the old salvage operator who had found it 60 years ago. The Park Foundation had grown beyond anything Una had imagined. It operated research stations in 12 solar systems. It ran academies that trained thousands of young humans every year. It built ships that could travel farther and faster than anything humans had created before. The Halori monopoly on resonance quartz was broken forever. Prices had dropped. Small species and independent traders could now afford faster-than-light communication. The balance of power in the sector had shifted permanently. Una was the richest human in the galaxy. But she still wore simple clothes. She still ate simple food. She still lived in a small apartment on the station, not a mansion. Some things never changed. The door behind her opened. 2 young people walked in. A girl of 18 and a boy of 16. The girl was Soman, Una's daughter. She had her mother's eyes and her grandmother's smile. The boy was Hyunwoo Ji-woo's son. He had grown tall and strong, and he wanted to be an explorer. "Mother," Soman said, "we have been reading great-grandfather's journals." Yuna turned from the window. "Which ones?" "The ones from his early days, when he first came to space." Soman hesitated. "He writes about being scared, about being alone, about everyone laughing at him. Yes, he was often scared. The stories we hear now make him sound like a hero, like he never doubted himself. But in his journals, he sounds human." Yuna smiled. She walked to a small table and picked up an old photograph. It showed a young man with a wide smile, standing next to a rusted ship. The ship was the Patient Ox, and the man was Do-hwan Park, 50 years ago. "He was human," Yuna said. "That was his greatest strength. The aliens never understood this. They thought our short lives and soft bodies made us weak. They thought our emotions made us foolish. But your great-grandfather knew the truth." "What truth?" Hyunwoo asked. "That being scared is not the same as giving up. That feeling weak is not the same as being weak. Humans have always been underestimated. We are small. We are young. We do not have claws or telepathy or silicon brains. But we have something the galaxy never accounted for." "What is that?" Yuna looked at the photograph. "We remember. We learn. We adapt. And we never ever stop." She put the photograph down and walked back to the window. Her children followed her. "When I first came to this station, I was 26 years old. I had nothing. I owned an old ship and mining rights to a rock that everyone said was worthless. The aliens laughed at me. They thought I was stupid. They thought my grandfather was a fool. But you proved them wrong," Soman said. "I proved that they did not understand us. That is different." "Mine is different." Yuna pointed out the window at the passing ships. "Every person on those ships is human. Every child in our academies is human. Every scientist in our research stations is human. We built all of this in 10 years. Not because I was special, not because I was brave, but because I listened to my grandfather, and he listened to his grandfather, and we carried their dreams forward." The door opened again. Taehyun walked in, older now but still wearing that same crooked grin. He had more gray hair than Yuna. He moved more slowly, but his eyes were still kind. "Council meeting in 10 minutes, boss. The Halori are requesting another trade renegotiation." Yuna laughed. It was a warm sound that filled the room. "They ask every year. They still think they can get better terms. Will you meet with them?" "Let them wait." Taeyeon nodded and left. Somin looked at her mother. "Is that not rude? Making them wait?" Yuna smiled. "Your great-grandfather taught me something important. He said that powerful people expect to be answered immediately. They expect everyone to jump when they speak. When you make them wait, you remind them that you are not afraid, that you have power too." She looked at her daughter and her nephew. "The galaxy will challenge you. People will laugh at you. They will tell you that you are small and weak and unimportant. Remember what I am telling you now. You carry the dreams of everyone who came before you. You are not alone. You are never alone." Hyunwoo straightened his shoulders. "I want to explore, Aunt Yuna. I want to find new places, like great-grandfather did. Then explore. Find new rocks that everyone says are worthless. Learn to see what others cannot see. And always remember where you came from." Yuna looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, in the endless darkness, new discoveries were waiting. New dreams were forming. New generations of humans were preparing to reach for things that seemed impossible. That was the human way. That had always been the human way. She thought of her grandfather, smiling in his small ship, looking at an ugly gray asteroid that no one else wanted. He had seen what no one else could see. He had planted a seed that he would never see grow. And now, 60 years later, the galaxy was covered in flowers. Yuna touched the window with her fingertips. "Thank you, grandfather," she whispered, "for everything." Somewhere, across the vast emptiness of space, she could almost hear him laughing. Not the cold laughter of the Halori, but warm laughter. Human laughter. The laughter of a man who had never stopped dreaming. And in that moment, Yuna knew that his dream would never end. It would pass from her to Soman, from Jiwoo to Hyunwoo, from one generation to the next, forever. That was the greatest inheritance of all.